First contact and mysterious disappearances. The stars looked different from the command deck of the Sovereign Fang. Admiral Krasnar stood with his clawed hands clasped behind his back, vertical pupils dilating as he studied the blue-green planet growing larger on the main view screen. Earth, a primitive world on the fringes of the galactic arm, yet uniquely positioned to serve the Draconian Empire's desperate needs. Status report, Krasnar rumbled, his voice echoing across the bridge. All 247 warships maintain formation. Admiral, his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vexil, responded promptly. Weapons primed, shields at maximum capacity. Krasnar nodded, scales shifting slightly with the movement. The humans wouldn't know what hit them. Their rudimentary defenses would crumble within hours. It was almost disappointing how simple this conquest would be. Time to orbital position. 8 standard hours. Admiral. Excellent. Send word to the Emperor. The conquest of Earth proceeds as planned. On Earth, the first warning came at 2:36 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. At the International Space Defense Coalition headquarters beneath the Rocky Mountains, Lieutenant Maya Wong jolted upright in her chair as proximity alarms blared across the monitoring station. Director. She called out, fingers flying across her console. Multiple objects entering the outer solar system. Size and formation consistent with a military fleet. Director Nathaniel Pierce abandoned his coffee and rushed to her station, face draining of color as he watched hundreds of signals materialize on the long-range scanners. How many? He asked, voice barely audible over the alarm. I count. 247 vessels, sir. Massive. Largest is approximately 3.2 kilometers in length. Pierce exhaled slowly. Contact the Security Council and every major world leader. Wake up the President. And get me Dr. Chen from MIT. Immediately. Within 2 hours, militaries worldwide activated emergency protocols. Fighter jets scrambled, missile defense systems came online, and emergency broadcasts interrupted regular programming across the globe. The message was simple and terrifying. Earth was facing an alien invasion. Dr. Ileana Chen was already awake when the government helicopter landed on the MIT campus quad. As the world's foremost expert in theoretical xenolinguistics, she had spent her career preparing for this day, though she'd never truly believed it would come during her lifetime. Dr. Chen, a uniformed officer, shouted over the roar of rotors. We need you at ASDC headquarters immediately. As the helicopter lifted off, Ileana studied the tablet they'd handed her. The alien fleet's approach vector, size, and formation told her one thing immediately. This wasn't an exploration mission or diplomatic endeavor. This was a war fleet. In the White House Situation Room, President Harriet Williams studied the satellite imagery with Commander Jackson Hayes, chairman of the Joint Chiefs. What are our options, Commander? She asked, voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Hayes, a decorated veteran with salt and pepper hair and a perpetual frown, shook his head slightly. Our nuclear arsenal might take out some of their ships, but not nearly 250, and we don't know what kind of weapons they possess. Can we communicate with them? The President asked. Dr. Meera Patel, director of the Advanced Physics Division at NASA, spoke up. We've been broadcasting on all frequencies since detection. No response. Either they can't understand us, or they're choosing not to answer. The President nodded grimly. Then we prepare for the worst. Activate all bunkers, begin civilian evacuations of major coastal cities, and deploy every available military asset. As dawn broke across North America, the Draconian Fleet passed the orbit of Mars, their massive ships casting long shadows across the red planet below. Admiral Krasnar watched with satisfaction as his armada advanced. Time until Earth orbit, he asked. 5 hours, Admiral, came the reply. Excellent. Begin preparations for the first wave off. Admiral. The sensor officer's panicked voice cut through the bridge. We've lost contact with the Crimson Talon. Krasnar frowned, scales darkening with irritation. Equipment malfunction. Continue approach. Sir, the ship has disappeared from all sensors. No debris, no distress signal. It's simply gone. Before Krasnar could respond, another officer called out, "The Night Scale and Emperor's Fury have also vanished from formation." Confusion rippled across the bridge as more reports flooded in. Krasnar's confidence gave way to bewilderment as ship after ship simply disappeared. "What is happening?" he demanded, slamming a clawed fist on the command console. No one had answers. The ships weren't being destroyed. There was no debris, no energy signatures indicating weapons fire. They simply ceased to exist. At ISDC headquarters, Lieutenant Wong stared at her screen in disbelief. "Director Pierce, the alien ships are disappearing." Pierce rushed over. "What do you mean, disappearing? Are they cloaking?" "No, sir. They're just gone. No energy signatures, no debris. Nothing." As they watched, more ships vanished from their screens. Whatever was happening, it wasn't Earth's doing. Admiral Krasnar ordered his fleet to halt their approach. In 3 centuries of military service, he had never encountered anything like this. The mighty Draconian Armada, terror of 17 star systems, was facing an enemy it couldn't see or understand. And somewhere in the vastness of space, dozens of confused Draconian ships found themselves in unknown regions of the galaxy, with no explanation for how they got there, and no way to return to their fleet. Dr. Ileana Chen sat in the dim light of ISDC's communication center, listening to the strange signals coming from the Draconian Fleet. The alien language was unlike anything she had ever heard, full of clicks, hisses, and rumbling tones that human vocal cords could never produce. Yet the emotion in those sounds was unmistakable. Confusion, then fear, then panic. "They don't understand what's happening to them either," she told the team gathered around her. Ileana had spent years creating algorithms that could identify emotional patterns in unknown languages. Now those programs were proving invaluable. "Play that last transmission again," she said, reaching for her tablet. The speakers crackled with harsh alien sounds. Ileana closed her eyes, focusing on the patterns rather than the words themselves. "They're reporting more ships vanishing." She translated slowly. "Something about interference with their navigation systems. There's a repeated phrase. Void shift. I think that's what's happening to their missing ships." On a farm outside Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, Thomas Blackwater was checking on his cattle when the sky turned an unnatural orange. He looked up to see a massive object breaking through the clouds, trailing smoke and flames. "What in God's name?" he whispered, frozen in place as the object, clearly some kind of spacecraft, crashed into his western field. The impact shook the ground beneath his feet and sent dirt and grass flying into the air. Thomas's first instinct was to run, but something held him in place. He climbed into his pickup truck and drove toward the crash site. By the time he reached the edge of the field, the smoke had begun to clear. The ship was unlike anything he had seen before, all sharp angles and metallic scales, about the size of a small private jet. Thomas approached cautiously, shotgun in hand. A section of the ship's hull had been torn open in the crash, and through the gap, he could see movement inside. "Hello," he called out, immediately feeling foolish. Whatever was in there wouldn't understand English. A sound came from inside the ship, a low groan that was definitely not human. Thomas watched, heart pounding, as a massive figure pulled itself through the opening. The creature that emerged stood nearly 7 feet tall, its body covered in scales that shifted between deep red and gold in the sunlight. Its face was reptilian with amber eyes that had vertical pupils. It wore what appeared to be armored flight gear, now damaged and stained with dark fluid. Thomas raised his shotgun, but hesitated when he saw the dark liquid dripping from the creature's side. It was injured. The alien looked at Thomas, then at the shotgun, and made a sound that might have been a laugh. It spoke in a language of clicks and rumbles, then gestured at Thomas's weapon and shook its head. The message was clear. That little gun won't help you against me. But instead of attacking, the alien sank to its knees, clearly weakened by its injuries. It looked at Thomas with what seemed like resignation, as if expecting him to finish it off. Thomas lowered his shotgun. "You need help," he said, pointing to the creature's wound. At ISDC headquarters, Commander Hayes coordinated with military forces worldwide as the situation in space grew increasingly chaotic. "We've now confirmed that 118 alien ships have vanished," he reported to the Emergency Council of World Leaders. "They've stopped their approach and appear to be in disarray." "Could this be some kind of trick?" asked the Chinese premier. "We don't think so," Hayes replied. "Their communication suggests they're genuinely confused and frightened. They don't know what's happening any more than we do." On the Sovereign Fang, Admiral Krasnar roared in frustration as another ship disappeared from sensors. "Find the cause," he demanded. "Is it a weapon? A natural phenomenon? How are these primitives doing this?" "We've lost contact with Scout Ship Venom's Fang," an officer reported. "Last transmission indicated they were experiencing engine failure and descending toward the planet's surface." "Send a rescue team," Krasnar ordered. "Sir," Vexil said quietly, "with respect, we cannot risk more ships. Whatever is causing this might affect the rescue vessels as well." Krasnar's scales darkened with anger, but he knew his second was right. For the first time in his long military career, the admiral of the mighty Draconian armada felt something unfamiliar: helplessness. Back in Oklahoma, Thomas Blackwater made a decision that would change the course of human history. He put down his shotgun and approached the injured alien. "Let me help you," he said slowly, gesturing to the wound. "I'm not going to hurt you." The alien watched him with those strange amber eyes, then gave a single nod of understanding. First contact had begun. Earth's unique defense and galactic recognition. The remaining Draconian ships maintained a cautious distance from Earth's atmosphere, their massive hulls reflecting sunlight in brilliant flashes visible from the ground below. Admiral Krasnar stood rigid on his command deck, scales tight against his body, a sign of extreme stress in his species. 129 ships gone, Sub-Commander Vexil reported, voice hollow. "No debris, no distress signals. They simply vanish." Krasnar slammed his tail against the deck, the sound reverberating through the bridge. The mighty Draconian Empire had conquered 17 star systems without significant losses, yet this small blue planet was defeating them without firing a single shot. "Pull back to high orbit," he ordered. "No ship is to descend below 500 kilometers from the surface. Maintain position and continue analysis." At ISDC headquarters, Dr. Meera Patel studied the patterns of disappearing alien ships with growing excitement. As a quantum physicist specializing in theoretical wormhole dynamics, she had spent her career exploring concepts most considered impossible. Now something extraordinary was happening directly above her planet. "Look at this," she said to Commander Hayes, pointing to her holographic display. "The ships aren't vanishing at random. There's a clear pattern." Hayes leaned closer, studying the projection showing Earth with glowing lines representing the planet's electromagnetic field. "The disappearances occur most frequently where our electromagnetic field is strongest," Meera explained, eyes bright with discovery, "and almost never where it's weakest." "You think Earth's magnetic field is causing this?" Hayes asked, skepticism evident in his voice. "Not just the magnetic field. I think it's a combination of factors. Our atmosphere, our electromagnetic field, and something in Earth's geological makeup." She looked up at him. "Something about Earth itself is interfering with their technology in a way that's creating localized spatial distortions. In English, Doctor, Earth is accidentally teleporting their ships to random points across the galaxy." In Oklahoma, Thomas Blackwater had managed to bring the injured alien into his barn. The creature was too large to fit through the doorway of his house, and Thomas figured the fewer people who saw it, the better. He cleaned the wound on its side with water and antiseptic, surprised to find that despite its reptilian appearance, the alien's blood was dark red, just like human blood. "I'm going to call you Scarlet," Thomas said as he worked, noticing the predominant color of its scales. "Seems fitting." The alien watched him with those unsettling amber eyes, then made a sound that might have been an attempt at the name. "Scarlet." Thomas nearly dropped the bandage he was holding. "You can understand me." Scarlet made a motion with its hand, tilting it back and forth. Somewhat. It then pointed to its wound and nodded at Thomas. "You're welcome," Thomas said, smiling despite himself. "Now how about you tell me why your buddies are trying to invade my planet?" Scarlet looked down, its expression unreadable to human eyes. It pointed up at the sky, then made a motion like something crumbling, followed by touching its chest, where Thomas assumed its heart might be. "Your world is dying," Thomas guessed. Scarlet nodded, then used its claw to draw in the dirt floor of the barn. It sketched what looked like a star with lines radiating from it, then drew a circle around it. Next, it added several small circles around the star, planets. It pointed to one and then to itself. "That's your home," Thomas said. Scarlet nodded, then drew lines from the star extending beyond its circle and made an explosive gesture with its hands. "Your son is dying," Thomas whispered. "You needed somewhere to go." At ASDC's Communication Center, Dr. Ileana Chen made a breakthrough in translating the Draconian language. With the help of sophisticated algorithms and her own intuition, she began to understand fragments of their transmissions. "They're desperate," she told the team gathered around her. "Their home system's star has begun to collapse. They'd spent decades searching for a suitable planet to relocate their population. They've attempted peaceful contact with 17 other civilizations." "What happened to those civilizations?" President Williams asked from the video screen. Ileana hesitated. "All refused assistance. Some attacked. The Draconians eliminated them and took what they needed. And now they've come to Earth," Hayes said grimly. "Yes, but there's something else. They keep referring to something called the Void Shift in their communications. I think that's what's happening to their missing ships." Dr. Patel nodded excitedly. "That confirms my theory. Earth's unique electromagnetic properties are creating microscopic wormholes that are teleporting their ships to random coordinates across the galaxy." In orbit, Admiral Krasnar received troubling news. The flagship's systems were beginning to show the same errors that preceded the disappearance of the other vessels. "Prepare for emergency departure," he ordered. "We must leave this system and report to the Emperor." "Sir," Vexil said quietly, "the long-range engines are already failing. We cannot escape." Krasnar looked out at the blue planet below them. Whatever power these humans possessed, it was beyond anything the Draconian Empire had encountered in its long history of conquest. And as the disappearances continued, the galaxy began to take notice. The most powerful invasion fleet ever assembled was vanishing without explanation, and the only ones who might hold the answer were the supposedly primitive humans of Earth. News of the stalled alien invasion spread across the globe. People emerged from shelters, eyes turned skyward, watching the remaining Draconian ships hovering uncertainly in Earth's upper atmosphere. Then a new ship appeared. Unlike the sharp, scaled design of the Draconian vessels, this one was sleek and silver, glowing with soft blue lights. It stopped at the edge of Earth's orbit, keeping a safe distance. At ISDC headquarters, alarms sounded once again. "Another alien ship," Commander Hayes announced. "But this one's different." The new ship broadcast a message on all frequencies in perfect English. "Attention, people of Earth. This is Ambassador Kellinar of the Galactic Concord. We come in peace and request communication regarding the Draconian situation." The world leaders gathered in emergency session to discuss this new development. After hours of debate, they agreed to send representatives to meet the aliens. Dr. Ileana Chen, Dr. Mira Patel, and Commander Hayes were selected for the mission, as they understood the most about the Draconian language, the disappearance phenomenon, and potential military threats. A small shuttle carried them up to the edge of Earth's atmosphere where the Concorde ship waited. As they approached, a beam of light surrounded their shuttle, pulling it gently into a docking bay. Ambassador Kelnar greeted them personally. He was tall and slender with pale blue skin and large, completely black eyes. Unlike the Draconians, his appearance was almost elegant, with flowing robes and delicate movements. "Welcome," he said, his voice melodic. "The Galactic Concorde is deeply concerned. The Draconian Empire is one of the most powerful military forces in our part of the galaxy. Their entire invasion fleet is vanishing, and no one knows why." "We have a theory," Mira said, opening her tablet to show the data she had collected. "Earth has unique properties that seem to interfere with Draconian technology, creating microscopic wormholes that displace their ships across the galaxy." Kelnar studied the information with fascination. "This is unprecedented. In millennia of space exploration, we've never encountered a planet with natural defenses against advanced technology." Meanwhile, Thomas Blackwater continued to communicate with Scarlet, developing a basic understanding through drawings and simple words. He learned that the Draconians had conquered many worlds, taking their resources to sustain their dying civilization. "Why attack?" Thomas asked, sketching a simple picture of ships firing weapons. "Why not ask for help?" Scarlet made a sound that Thomas had come to recognize as sadness. It drew a picture of Draconian ships approaching a planet peacefully, then being attacked. "You tried peace before, and it didn't work," Thomas guessed. Scarlet nodded, then drew more planets with X's through them. Thomas understood. Previous planets had refused to help or had attacked the Draconians first, so they had stopped asking and started taking. On the Concorde vessel, negotiations began between the human representatives and members of the Galactic Concorde. Ambassador Kelnar revealed that the Concorde was a coalition of over 50 advanced species who maintained peace and cooperation throughout the galaxy. "The Draconians have refused all invitations to join," he explained. "Their empire has expanded through conquest for centuries. Many systems fear them, and now they fear us," Commander Hayes noted. "Indeed." Kelnar's expression shifted subtly. "A planet that can make Draconian warships vanish without firing a shot has caught everyone's attention." "We didn't do it intentionally," Mira explained. "It's just something about Earth's natural properties that interferes with their technology. Intentional or not, you now possess the most effective defense against the most feared military in the sector," Kelnar replied. "The Concorde would like to extend an invitation for Earth to join our alliance." Back on Earth, Thomas had made contact with local authorities about his unexpected guest. Within hours, a specialized team arrived at his farm, including Dr. Chen, who had returned from the orbital meeting. "You've done something remarkable, Mr. Blackwater," she told him as they approached the barn together. "You've shown that peaceful contact is possible, even with a species that came here to conquer us." Inside, Scarlet stood cautiously as the newcomers entered. When it saw the official uniforms, it tensed, clearly expecting violence. "It's okay," Thomas assured the alien. "They're here to help." Dr. Chen stepped forward and addressed Scarlet in its own language, a series of clicks and rumbles she had learned from studying the Draconian transmissions. Scarlet's eyes widened in surprise. Over the next few days, a remarkable series of events unfolded. With Scarlet's help, Dr. Chen established communication with Admiral Krasnar. A cautious dialogue began between the Draconian Fleet and Earth's leaders. Dr. Patel's team discovered that the void shift effect could be neutralized by modifying the Draconian ship's shield frequencies. This allowed a small delegation of Draconian leaders to safely descend to Earth for face-to-face negotiations. In a historic meeting at the United Nations, representatives from Earth, the Draconian Empire, and the Galactic Concorde gathered to discuss the future. The Draconians, now aware of Earth's unintentional defense mechanism, approached the talks with a newfound respect for humanity. Our sun will collapse within 50 years, Admiral Krasnar explained through translation devices. Our people need a new home. And you've destroyed worlds to find one, President Williams responded. Yes, Krasnar admitted. When diplomacy failed, we took what we needed to survive. It is our way. Perhaps there's another way, Ambassador Kelnar suggested. The Concord has terraforming technology that could make several uninhabited worlds in this sector suitable for draconian physiology. In exchange for what? Krasnar asked suspiciously. Peace, President Williams said simply, and Earth's assistance in locating your missing ships. Dr. Patel believes she can reverse the process that scattered them across the galaxy. For a long moment, Krasnar was silent, his ancient eyes studying the human leaders. Then, slowly, he extended his clawed hand toward President Williams, a gesture he had learned was a human custom. For the survival of my species, he said, I will consider peace. As the negotiations continued, word spread throughout the galaxy. Earth, a previously unknown world on the fringes of explored space, had stopped the Draconian armada without firing a shot. Moreover, they were now mediating peace between the Draconians and the Galactic Concord. 6 months later, Thomas Blackwater stood outside his barn, staring up at the night sky with Scarlet beside him. The alien's wounds had healed, and it had chosen to remain on Earth as part of the cultural exchange program established between the three powers. Your star, Scarlet said in newly learned English, pointing to a bright point of light. That is my home system. Thomas nodded. And soon your people will have a new home. Because of Earth, Scarlet replied. Because one human helped one Draconian instead of fearing. Above them, invisible to the naked eye, ships from across the galaxy now orbited Earth. Diplomatic vessels, cultural exchanges, and scientific missions, all coming to study the planet that had changed the balance of power in the galaxy with nothing but its natural properties and the unexpected compassion of its people. Earth had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not through conquest or technological superiority, but through the uniqueness of its world and the humanity of its people. And somewhere in the vastness of space, Draconian ships were being found and returned home, not as conquerors, but as neighbors in a galaxy that suddenly seemed a little smaller and a lot more hopeful.